Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Guys, it's your brother Ahmed Basal from Sydney, Australia, coming to you live. And subhanAllah, what I've seen in the last few days with the MATWProject village that we're building in Palestine is looking absolutely incredible. MashaAllah, this village looks unbelievable, subhanAllah. And it's amazing that MATWProject is in a position to build a village like this. Assalamu alaikum everyone who's joining in. Let me know what country you're watching from in the comments below, inshallah. Put your country flag or the name of your city, and inshallah I'll see if it's somewhere that I've been to before, or even if I know where it is. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys, and right now we are in desperate need of your help. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a beautiful situation for the believers in that any time that they give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lots of positive things happen in the unseen world, in the ghaib. A lot of good things happen that we can't see it, but we can feel the effect of it in our lives, subhanAllah. When we give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stops a disease or a problem from coming into your life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects you. You get this himayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your brothers and sisters. Also, when you give for the sake of Allah, your charity becomes your shade on the day of judgment. Your charity keeps you safe from the sun, and the sun is going to be so close over our heads that there's going to be people actually drowning in their sweat, subhanAllah. Such a terrifying thing to try to imagine, people climbing on top of each other on the day of judgment, but our charity will be our shade on the day of judgment. And whatever you give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not going to decrease your wealth. And whatever you give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will reward you for it more than 700 times the reward. So we have so many reasons to give, but wallahi, still sometimes it's hard, sa'b shwaya, sometimes to give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is because when we want to give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we want to give a sadaqah, shaitan will come to us with the waswasa, and shaitan will say, if you give for the sake of Allah, you're going to be poor. If you give for the sake of Allah, you won't have enough money. If you give for the sake of Allah, how are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to pay your taxes? How are you going to pay the school fees? And he keeps reminding you of all the things you have to pay just because he doesn't want you to give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised you that anything you give for the sake of Allah, it's not going to decrease your wealth. Your sadaqah is not going to decrease your mal at all. And this is a promise from Rasulullah Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that anything you give, your wealth will not decrease at all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises you forgiveness, maghfirah, if you give for the sake of Allah. And He promises you that your wealth is not going to decrease. And He promises you to multiply your reward. Your ajr is going to be massive on the day of judgment, subhanAllah. And you will also feel the benefit of your sadaqah here in this dunya as well. Your sadaqah is going to be a rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that makes your life easier here on earth. And inshallah, you will see massive reward in the hereafter. MATWProject is building a village right now in Palestine. More than 400 families are going to be living in this village. They're going to be, inshallah, ya Rabb, inshallah, they're going to be safe. They're going to have food. They're going to have water. They're going to have shelter. They're going to have blankets. And all of that is coming from your donations. Your tabarru'at that you give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your sadaqah, is something that you're sending forward into your akhirah. Your sadaqah is like imagine you're packing a suitcase, you put everything in this suitcase, and you're sending it into the akhirah. When you arrive in the akhirah, you can open that suitcase and you can enjoy all the things that you've put in there, that you've prepared for. This is exactly what it's like when we give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can see what's happening, not just in Palestine, but also in Lebanon. In Lebanon right now, the situation is terrible. People are struggling to find food. There's not a lot of food getting in, and what's available is hard for them to get. So this is why our brothers and sisters need our help. And don't forget that if you save the life of one person, it's like you saved all of mankind. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you a reward on the day of judgment for saving all of mankind. All of 7 billion people on this earth have been saved because you decided to give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by donating to MATWProject and saving the lives of our Muslim brothers and sisters. Wallahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in a position where we have so much ni'mah. We have so much ni'mah, and we need to share that with our brothers and sisters who don't have any. Wallahi, it's only from the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He didn't make you or me born inside of Palestine. I was born in Egypt, Qahira. But it could have been so easy if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided that I was going to be born in the West Bank, or decided that I was going to be born in Gaza. Then my situation would be the same as our brothers and sisters in Gaza right now. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put me here in Australia. But I can do everything that I can to help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Gaza, in Lebanon. We need to do everything that we can to save their lives. And you need to be sure that every donation that you give, you are 100% saving lives of brothers and sisters overseas. 100%, you are saving their life. Because of you, they can go on living. They can eat, they can drink, they can have somewhere to sleep, and you are saving their life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending you to save the lives of our Palestinian brothers and sisters and our Lebanese brothers and sisters. And wallahi, this is an honor, this is a karama for us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to be the ones to come and save the lives of our brothers and sisters. So wallahi, I urge every single one of you to click the link in the bio, go to MATWProject.org and donate for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even $1 makes a big difference. This is something that Brother Ali Bennett, Allah yarhamu, he always used to say. He always used to say, even $1 makes a big difference. Even $1 to someone in Palestine or to someone in Lebanon makes a massive difference, wallahi. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all of your sadaqah, multiply your good deeds, and inshallah we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite all of us in Jannat al-Firdaus al-A'la together, inshallah, where we can look upon His face, where we can enjoy His company, where we can have that beautiful situation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes, لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. No more fear, no more sadness, just safety, security and happiness in Jannat al-Firdaus, inshallah. Jazakum Allah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.